Imagine this, I'm driving down the road and I get rear-ended and the other person jumps out of the car and blames me for the wreck. Do I have a case?
Welcome to the Williams, Ellerby, Howard and Easter YouTube channel. I'm Joel, this is Jared. We're going to answer that question for you today and talk about some of the ways that you can go about overcoming an adverse party or somebody who hits you when they lie about what happened in a wreck. One of the first things that we can do is go out and find witnesses that may have seen the wreck. So we'd get an accident report, we would see who is listed on the accident report. We could order 911 call transcripts and CAD reports and find out who called to report the wreck, and then find out what they have to say about it, because they would be independent witnesses that really have no interest in recovering any money or recovering for any kind of injuries. But there's other ways as well.
Yeah, another way is to employ an accident reconstructionist who can look at the vehicles, examine kind of the damage patterns, look at markings on the roadway, as well as kind of just trying to recreate exactly what happened at the scene. They'll go out, do a scene inspection, and then take all that information and actually render an expert opinion based on physics and engineering and a bunch of stuff I don't understand about telling you how that wreck happened and what could or could not have been possible given the damage patterns and the way the cars look after the wreck.
Yep. And the one disadvantage to that is they can be very expensive, right? So, you know, it may run anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 depending on the complexity of the wreck. So you just have to make sure that the claim that you have justifies putting that kind of expense into it. But whether it is or not, another place that we can look to get valuable information about what happened is open records, where we would request the police body cam footage or the dash camera footage from the police car. There have been many cases we've had where somebody denies fault for causing a wreck, but then we get the body cam footage in from the police officer or their dash cam, and it's recording the audio as well, and the person is on the scene and they admit that the wreck was their fault. So they can look pretty silly if they try to deny it in a lawsuit, but they admitted it at the scene.
Yeah, and also that body camera footage sometimes will reveal some witnesses that might not have made it into the accident report for some reason, or there's a lot of good information there.
And that's, you know, that's a good point, is if you hire a lawyer for your car wreck case, it's important to find someone who's willing to be thorough and actually sit down and watch those videos and order these open records things to make sure that all witnesses are identified, because it could really be a case breaker or a case killer depending on what that reveals.
Mm-hmm. And luckily nowadays there's actually some new technology. You know, it's 2024, things are changing, and there's some new ways out there to help settle a dispute about who was at fault. And one of those can be traffic cameras. I know we've all seen kind of on the morning news, they'll show you a clip of rush hour traffic and you can see what's going on. And normally those would just be live stream cameras. However, there's been a kind of popping up some new companies out there that are somehow starting to capture that data and store it. So once you're in a crash and your attorney gets the accident report, they can look at the date, the time, and the location and go check out to see if there are any traffic cameras in the area that might have caught it. And then you can go to these websites and see if they actually have downloaded it and have it there. And you know, those videos can be probably one of the most impactful things to show the crash and what happened and really paint a clear picture of what transpired.
Yep, and those videos do cost money. I mean, it's anywhere from maybe $250 to $1,000 depending on what company you're using. But it is available, and if you have no other option, it may be well worth that investment to get that video. Another newer type technology that can give us evidence as to who caused a wreck actually comes in the form of cameras within the vehicles that are involved in the wreck. And there's really two types. The first is a separate camera that you might go to a store and purchase and install in your dash that records what's going on when you're driving. We see this a lot with motorcyclists. They'll have it on their helmet. Some people have it on their dash or in their rear mirror, so that it can catch what's happening from both sides. So if somebody rear ends you, maybe a rear facing camera will catch that. Or if somebody cuts you off and goes in front of you, then maybe your dash camera will catch that. But the real interesting part that Jared has actually had experience with, that took a case from a $0 offer to a $300,000 offer, is slightly different.
And it's something that you probably don't know exists in your car, but usually any newer vehicles who have that have the crash detection radar avoidance systems actually have cameras installed with them that are taking pictures out the front of the vehicle at all times. And you can't access the information normally. It just kind of deletes over itself. However, when a car's in a crash and the car recognizes that crash happened, it will save 7 seconds of data leading up to the crash. And we've all heard of black boxes on planes. Cars have them as well, and traditionally you would get a lot of data about how fast the car was going, or whether they hit the brakes, whether you're wearing your seatbelt, things like that. But now with the crash avoidance system, it takes a picture every half second. So in the 7 seconds leading up to the crash, you will get a picture out the front of the vehicle every half second for 7 seconds. And that can be really telling of everything that happens in front of the car. If someone says you ran a red light, you can pull up the pictures, you can look, and you can see that, the light was green, you had the right of way, or they pulled out in front of you. There's just a wealth of information that can come from those 14 pictures that will change everything about the case. Again, it costs money. We have to hire an expert to go out. Kind of those reconstruction guys can go out, pull all of that data, and provide you with the pictures. It's pretty instantaneous, but you do have to pay them to go out and pull the data to get it.
Yep. And that type situation is actually the inspiration for this video, because we have a client who was in a wreck. The other lady said that our client ran the red light. She happened to be driving a vehicle with one of those crash avoidance systems in it, and we hired the expert to go out and download it. We got pictures of the red light in front of her, and then we got pictures of the light turning green. She pulled out, we get a picture of that. Then we get a picture that shows another car coming into the front frame. And then the next pictures we have were of our client's car upside down, overturning and landing. So it was very clear from that evidence that it was the other person's fault. And the other person's insurance company went from a complete denial of liability of $0 to offering $300,000 and begging us to negotiate with them, which that hadn't happened yet, because $300,000 isn't enough for that case. But anyway, there's a lot of cool things that you can use to try to show and prove that the other person is lying when they really are. And those are just 5 things that we use a lot of times here at Williams-Elleby. But anyway, we hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, we will see you next week.